Okay, so we're going to continue our video game introduction series for Neverwinter. We're going to start with a brand new account with nothing on it. This account's from like 2019. Never played, deleted all the characters. We're going to start a new character. We're going to go through some topics here on our little Notion guide that I put together. So let's pull that up here in the background real quick. So we want to just cover this video is going to cover interface key bindings and game setup. And let me go ahead and switch this over so you can see what we're talking about. So we're going to talk about these things just in this video, right? And then after we're going to break the next video down to cover this, the next video to cover this. And that way, if you just want to get information about one thing at a time, you only got one video actually to worry about. All right, let's jump back in the game. We're going to create a brand new character and then get started in the starter area. I think for the purposes of keeping these things simple, we'll just make a wood elf, a male. We'll make them, how about we'll just make them Oh, we'll make him a ranger because ranger gets to do both range attacks and melee attacks, so we can talk about the gameplay things that affect both. Excuse me. All right, we're just gonna make the character, make him really simple. We're gonna keep this on dexterity and wisdom, and let's see what pre-made face will work. We'll try this one, and we're gonna pick him from the Moonshay Islands because there's a really good book out there that I like, a Northland Warrior. We'll pick Maliki, and actually we don't want to be a Dritz Durden fan. Let's pick the Sylvanas. And then we'll go to continue, and we got to do the name, but we want to customize what they look like just a little bit more. Let's go back a little bit and just change their appearance. I'm going to hit customize up here. Young is fine. Hair, let's see. Well, on the head is where you're going to pick the skin color. I always like my characters to be a little darker. And let's see, let's get a hairstyle going here. Let's pick a light color so we can see what it looks like initially. There's 3 colors for the hair. And he's a blonde dude like me, whoopee. And let's give him this crazy, this little typical wood elf braided overhead. No, we're not doing that one. Kind of long hair, messy braids. Where is that hairstyle? Where is it? Are we not seeing it here? Where the hell is it? Let's go down. Here it is. Okay, that, and we can zoom in with the mouse wheel to see what this looks like. Those eyes look creepy. We'll change these eyes to something not nearly as creepy. Maybe we'll pick something darker. But light brown's fine. Let's check the head and see if there's other options. You'll notice they say face, rough, and then aged, so he can be an older dude. Then there's a different head on the next row, and then a different head on the next row. It's kind of feminine looking, and a different head on the next row. So we'll pick that one, and we'll make him aged looking, okay? We did the eyes already. On the eyes, you're like picking whether it's a pupil or a tiny pupil. We'll put medium pupil on the eyes. This color's a little purpley. Let's go something a little more brown. There we go. And facial hair, no, because it's an elf. Tattoos, no. Scars, no. If you're playing like an orc, you can make some crazy stuff. You can rescale the character. You can hide the armor so you can see what their build is. That's going to be covered down here in the body scaling and body shape. So let's make him toned by default, but we're going to scale some of the stuff up, make him bulkier. So we'll make his chest bigger, shoulders wider. His waist can be thin, that's fine. Waist depth is fine. Longer arms, more arm bulk, bigger hands, longer hands, fingers, longer legs, a little taller, leg bulk, and the feet size is okay. And then we can go back to the body shape, and let's go back to the face scaling. And you can take a look at the character and say, okay, how's the scaling look for the head? Is the head too high? The head height, you can raise this up and down. So put the head up a little bit here. We'll give him a little bit bigger head, more wide. It's already on big size. The height you can raise up and down. Let me zoom a little closer so you can see what we're doing here. The eye size can be bigger. That's fine. Brow, nose width. We can make that nose a little narrow, but not too much. And lip fullness is fine. Jaw width, let's give him a little bit stronger jaw. And that's pretty much, I think we're ready to go. Now, do we really want this hairstyle, blonde elf boy? Do we want to give him a darker hair color? How about just a good old-fashioned white? Let's give him a white hair color everywhere. Let's do this across the board. That way he'll look like an old dude. And we'll pick this blonde color, make this white. All right, so that's pretty much a white wood elf dude. All right, so then we go back to continue. And we already picked Sylvanas. It doesn't matter in the game. The deity has no difference whatsoever. And we'll call this dude something just random for our, we'll call him Kuradu Waterville like we did before in our other video, Kuradu, and we'll call him Watervilla. I think I already have a character named this. Let's see if it lets me use that name. Invalid character name. Let's call him, let's see. Let's give him an Irish town name. How about we'll call him Enniskillen, and pint handler. Nope. Pint in a skillen, tall pint. Nope, can't do that. Okay, let's pick a different town. Let's pick Donegal. Donegal, tall pint. And there you go, Donegal, tall pint. No one will know what that is because it lives in America. We don't need to put a biography here. You can say Warhammer, rest in peace. Okay? Be sure you spell that properly. All right, cool. Donegal, tall pint, Warhammer, rest in peace. Ready to begin your adventure. Level 1. Okay, so now we're going to get back to what's going on. When you first load the game, there's this big cutscene. You can skip it. A lot of the skipping mechanics are press and hold the escape button down. Sometimes you can tap it. It's going to do a little cinematic in a very introductory area. We're going to do this introductory area to give you a sense of how things work. In the upper right hand corner, it says escape, hold to skip. So I'm going to hold that down and skip this. The concept and the idea is that, hey, you crash landed in a boat and you've been washed ashore, kind of like Path of Exile, but none of your key bindings have been set properly. So this is the first thing we want to do, okay? You can ignore this WASD control here that's on the left. We're going to set things up before you can take a single step. Options. This is where you're going to set all the key bindings. Don't worry about this stuff telling you what to do. One of the first things I want you to do, I'm assuming you're not an inverted mouse control kind of a person, is turn camera shake off. Why? Because camera shake will come from anywhere in the general vicinity. It will shake your screen all the time. You may like it in the beginning, but you may find when you're playing skirmishes and doing other stuff that every time someone's doing something to screen shake, it gets really annoying. Location targeting activation. This is when you are doing an area effect attack. You press a button once and it brings out a ground template target, and you can move it around with your mouse as you're aiming and then click it again to activate it. So leave that on as it is, and on second press. AoE targeting assist, you can turn that off, and double tap to roll/sprint, turn that off. We want to turn that off because when we're moving, going, oh crap, I'm going to go left, no, I'm going to go right. We don't want to dodge roll and use a mechanic, because the dodge roll mechanic or the teleport mechanic or the blocking mechanic, a lot of those things use this right now here. You see this D20 down at the bottom? This is my mouse cursor. See this little blue area? So as you do dodge rolls and flips and slides and teleports that are all part of the action game mechanic, it'll use that resource up. You don't want that resource being used up all the time. Now you can say okay, but that's going to save what you just did, but just got to hit escape and go back into options, and we're going to do keybinds. So the default keybinds are all this WASD business. I'm going to hit load keybinds. That loaded all the keybinds I made once on this character, and I'm going to walk you through what they are right now, okay? Mouse look sensitivity. I found for me using a Logitech gaming mouse that I need to turn this down to 0.5. I had the same kind of problem when I play Star Wars The Old Republic and in Warframe, where my mouse is set to like 1600 DPI. It depends how yours is. The way you can test that is as you're moving and spinning your character around, when you look left, look right, do you feel like you have good control? Because if this is set really, really high, like this, you're going to find every time you're moving your mouse, you're flipping out like this, and it's uncontrollable. So that's going to be a personal preference for you. But if you first start using the default settings, you may find that this is just way too sensitive for you, right? So be sure to set that as well. We're going to put OK, and it's going to close that, ignore everything in the game, and we're going to go back to keybinds. Let me walk you through the keybindings you want to do. Now, most of these UI elements, you can grab them with your left mouse and move them up. We're going to bind some keys to adjusting UI elements. See, I can grab this down to the bottom, and I can grab the mouse cursor on the side and make this bigger. But for this is a decent width. Here's what I want you to do. If you see my DDO video or watch my Deck 16 video from the old days, WASD control scheme is cute for young kids and stuff, but really players who really want to have a lot of control and access to a lot of interesting keybinds quickly without lifting their hand up and over. If you don't want to have to lift your index finger, your middle finger over to try to reach 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, which is what you'd have to do if you're using WASD, use this keybinding system, okay? Forward is up. Backwards is back. Move left and move right. This is strafe left and strafe right. This game doesn't technically use strafe left and strafe right. It makes you run left or run right because it has a console type of camera system in it to a little bit. And jump to right control. Let me show you what that looks like real quick here, okay? So when you hit strafe right, you run to the right. When you hit strafe left, you run to the left. Now the camera's behind us, right? Run forward. As we turn the mouse, we start turning our character. We back up, it makes us turn and run towards the character. So basically, strafe left, it's always the character's always facing the direction you go. This isn't like World of Warcraft where you're like backing up and you're looking this way, or strafe left is looking at the target. But even so, circle strafing, like looking at a Coilite Newman or whatever, or looking at this guy here and seeing the interactive cursor change in the center here, you can still strafe and look at things in circle strafe. Your character is just really running a circle though, okay? So I've already loaded my keybinds, bind it to those keys, and as I have said in previous descriptions and previous videos, there's a reason for this. This gives you access to insert, home, page up, delete, end, page down, backslash, number pad 7, number pad 4, number pad 1, number pad 2, number pad 3, and left pinky on control. This will give you a fantastic way to grab all the key bindings you need. You can even see they're bound down here, right? Insert, home, page up, left mouse button, right mouse button, page down, and end. So I can hit these abilities quickly without having to remove my hand and lift it off the keys very far to do things. So try these things next, okay? For tactical power, this is interesting. It's different based on what your class is. It's called a tactical power. You'll hear Argon, who's a really prolific, a very experienced Neverwinter YouTube content creator, but all his videos like open up his character sheet, everything's mythic and in-game, and he's like, you need to do this. And so it's not really super duper noob friendly. I mean, he has some guides that will say, your new character spend 1,000,000 astral diamonds, which is really useful, but he doesn't ever talk about these kind of subtle gaming details. And since I'm a game director and game designer, subtle details make a difference, and I want you to have a good head start into your game. So tactical power, what is that? We've bound that to mouse button 4. Mouse button 4, look at your mouse. You have the left mouse button, or LMB, the right mouse button, RMB. You have a mouse wheel for scrolling, which can be clicked, okay? You can press and click on center mouse button. Then a lot of times you have 1 or 2 buttons on the side of your mouse, and that's all you need. You don't need a Razer Naga Chroma 5 million with a phone input with 1 through 900 on the side like a telephone. A 2-button mouse, the back button is usually mouse 4. So in this game, this case, I can't do it yet. Let me go grab a weapon out of here first. You can use it to do all your dodge roll abilities. Okay, so we're going to interact with this guy real quick, and I'm going to talk about that too. And I'm going to turn his talking off. Let me equip some gear so I can show you what the tactical ability is. Okay, great. So we're going to open my inventory. I'm going to equip these things by double-clicking them. And if you go back to what I was talking about, and I'll explain what the hell happened, all those UI elements. Let me explain that. So we have this button here, the mouse button 4, bound to tactical power, okay? That's basically, and for the ranger, it's like a teleport shift. Now look down here. You see these resources? This is your action points are at 0%. Some daily powers need 100%. That's this D20 made of glass that's not filled up yet. As you do damage and attack things and use abilities, this will fill up. And when it fills up, it will charge these 2 daily abilities. This is from 4th edition. A daily power that you can then use as a one-shot. Think of it as like a trinket or a really big epic hit or an ultimate from ESO that you can use. But right above this D20 is this tiny little blue bar, stamina. It's hard to mouse over, right? It says this is used to perform dodge and sprint maneuvers. So you got a different kind of like naming convention going on. One it calls it this. You can do it multiple times till you run out of power. There, I'm out. Stamina required. You hear this clicking sound? The game uses that as a default. You don't got enough button. Cooldowns aren't ready. You don't have enough stamina. You don't see a target. You can't mount here. You're going to hear that sound a lot when you're playing the game. Is clunk, clunk, clunk. That sound right there. Okay, so we've bound a key to that. We can move forward, move backwards, up, down, left, right. We can jump with the control button on our pinky, so we can move around and jump, right? So we don't have to do this. You can even like jump in the air and do this little move. So you have really good control of your character. You're looking left, you're looking right. The next one we really want to pay attention to here is the auto run ability. Auto run. I use backslash. Backslash is located right beneath your backspace button. On keyboards I like to use, I'm using like a Razer Chroma keyboard. It's just a regular keyboard with a big number pad bank on it. It doesn't have anything special. It doesn't have any Star Trek lights on it. That will allow me to auto run, right? And obviously inspect mode, zoom out, inspect mode, zoom in. It lets you zoom in on your character. Unbind, toggle, inspect mode. How do you unbind something? You click on the area and hit clear keybind. There are situations like, well, I want to, let's do this. I'm going to clear the jump button. Say I told you I wanted you to be using left control. If you press it, it says just this or just this and something else. So you could say just this, right? Now notice how it closed the whole interface again. It thought you're done. For example, if you wanted to bind this, let me clear this, my dodge sliding move to something else. So we'll say, okay, we'll go back into the options menu. Let's go to keybinds and let's see, how do we bind tactical power to something? Well, we want it to be on the mouse, but when you're pressing mouse button 4, which is on the side, it doesn't show up. So sometimes there'll be a drop-down menu. So in this situation, you want to say, okay, mouse button 4, and it binds it to that, and then you can say, okay, and now you've got the ability to do that. So now you got the control button. You can jump with your pinky while I'm pressing forward. I can jump while I'm going right. I can hold down the pinky. I can hold it down, but it won't continually jump. It only jumps once per key press. So now we're moving pretty good. Now we have auto run. I'm not touching a single key on my keyboard. I'm touching that. All I'm doing is moving the mouse. This is just auto run. He'll just run forever. Any movement key will stop you from running. Any move, so I'm running. If I hit right, he just goes to the right. Hit left, he goes to the left. So I can auto run left, auto run right. I'm going forward. If I press forward, I'll stop. So when you are auto running back, which will turn back and face you, or you're auto running and you press forward and you'll just stop in place. You'll get used to doing this. By using auto run a lot, it gives you the ability to hover your finger over other abilities you're going to probably use pretty soon. Okay, let's go back to our key bindings here. Key binds, remember how I resized this? It's going to do that every single time. The inspect mode, zoom in and zoom out, is for you to be able to zoom in on your character and look at them. You can hold, don't hold a single button down. You don't have to hold a button down like in World of Warcraft, and you can pan the camera around the character, or you can zoom out. I think this is about as far as you can zoom out, and this is about as close. You can't go the first person like in DDO. You can get pretty close though. And the camera system collides with the terrain, right? So this is unlike some games where the camera system will go up your butt of your character. Let's go over here to a wall real quick. So we come to a wall, and as we turn the mouse, it's going to collide with geometry and then pop in close. So this is how you get used to this. You get to a point where, I don't really want to go up into a fight and back against the wall. All I'm seeing is my bow string. You'll get to a situation where, as I'm playing, I don't really want to be over here and stuck behind this wall and have my camera, jammed against the geometry. And sometimes this will make it kind of disorienting for you. So if you're fighting, don't think like in World of Warcraft that you're going to back against the wall and then pull the camera around, because your character always faces camera relative, okay? Now, another thing to think about here, we'll go back to key bindings in a moment. You see this big gold thing? This is basically a quest. Anything, if you think of what it looks like this, right? It's this little sparkle bit on the ground. It's trying to say that in this area, there is a quest. If you look at the map in the upper right-hand corner, you see this little circle. So right now I have a quest to use an at-will power because I have gear equipped. But before we do all that, let's go back to our key bindings and bind everything else, okay? So we've got up, down, left, right, jump, our dodge move, we'll call it dodge, auto run. We can look at ourselves, scroll in and out. We got toggle cursor mode. This is important. Okay, the game has a lot of interfaces where you need to use the mouse. Since it's an action camera and the mouse is always bound, you don't have a cursor. You're using this blue reticule spot that's directly over my character's head, which you might remember from playing Elder Scrolls Online or playing Warframe. That what this points to is what I'm targeting. Whether it's a character that's interactive, it's changed colors. Whether it's just the environment, it's white. So when there's things you can interact with or cover over, it'll change colors. For example, these are test dummies, right? Looking at the ground, it's just white. Looking up here, it's red. That's a hostile target. Looking over here is blue. Oh, it's a Neverwinter guard. See how the name is highlighted over his head? And we'll talk about how to control that in a moment too. So the next thing we want to take a look at here is down to the middle mouse button. Set this to middle click. Let's clear it. Let me show you how to do that. So you want to hit toggle cursor mode. You're going to click in this little area here, and you're going to go to the drop down menu, and you're going to say middle click, not middle press, middle click, and not middle drag, and then say OK. Now, standing still, click the middle mouse button. Boom. It makes the whole screen go a very kind of a light black transparency layer, And now you can use this mouse cursor to do things like hover over the abilities, hover over things on your bar, hover over menu items, click on menu items. You could click on this quest journal and open the journal, and we'll talk about those things in a minute. So there are situations when you need to use a mouse to do something. You'll also notice that when you press certain hotkeys that open certain interface items, it automatically makes the background with that black transparency layer to let you know that what's in the forefront is a UI element. So, and then you can do things like click through tabs, and you can highlight things. You say, I want to do this. What's the leaderboard? I can check out all these elements up here. So this is how you control, 99.5% of the interface related to the game, not related to fighting, is controlled by doing that. So if we press the middle mouse button, we have a mouse cursor. If we move, it goes away. And so the moment we move our character, it goes away. You can do this the same thing. Move forward, move backwards, go to the right, go to the left. You may find that if you click middle mouse over and over and over, it doesn't toggle back out of it, right? It stays in this mode. It doesn't want you accidentally toggling the mouse back out if they think you're still using, which is pretty smart. All right, let's go back to our options. Look at our key bindings here again. All right, so we got the middle click going. Powers. So there's a number of different powers in the game. If you look down here, right now we have 2 little at-will powers. They have no resource costs. We can do them infinitely. I think only 1 or 2 characters might have some that have a cooldown. Usually you can just do it over and over and over and over and over. So we want to, that's bound to left press and right press. So left press, right press, it should be the default. Encounter 1, 2, and 3. These are abilities down here that you will get as you level up that usually have a cooldown and don't usually have a resource cost. But some classes do have a resource cost. Like for example, you're playing a warlock and you try to do one of these abilities, you can't do it if you don't have enough resources. So some classes have like an additional power bar or resource that these things cost, or some classes have them as, oh, it's a cooldown, 16 seconds, 24 seconds, 8 seconds, etc. And then you have daily powers. You may remember this from 4th edition. At will, encounter, and daily powers, that all comes from 4th edition. This is not 5th edition stuff, okay? So we bind our keys to left press and right press for our at wills. Encounters, I have insert, home, and page up. Look at your keyboard. See insert, home, and page up are right across the top. And then we're going to use page down and end for the last 2, which are these big daily powers, but we're going to save delete for interacting with objects in the world like characters. So over here, power set swap, unbind that. Just click it and hit clear keybind. Now we're going to utilize the number pad keys of number pad 7, number pad 4, number pad 1, number pad 2, and plus sign to handle utility type things such as a class ability or an artifact that you can activate, which is like a trinket in World of Warcraft, or using potions. So down here, you'll see we something used very infrequently called an artifact that we don't have yet. It's like a trinket in World of Warcraft. And we currently have some potions that we can use, which is bound to number pad 4, number pad 1, and number pad 2. Bind those keys or change them to keys that you like, but they allow you, as you're moving with auto run and doing attacks, to reach over and use your index finger to hit 7, 4, or 1 on your number pad, even 2 and 3 really quickly without moving your hand off the keys. And you also have a situation where you don't need to pull the keyboard directly underneath you to do things. All right, so other keys we want to bind. Invocation. In the course of the game, when you are in a town, or if you've got an altar, you'll see these campfires, and there's these blue circles around it. Later on, as you go through the tutorial and start going the starter campaign to get you to level 20 and get you a bunch of gear and astral diamonds, you'll be able to invoke the power of your god, and you'll get bonuses to astral diamonds and a few buffs and little goodies. So you want to bind that to F5. Now right now it doesn't do anything, but go ahead and bind it to F5 for right now, because that's going to be a really easy key to hit. You can glance over, and above 5, 6, and 7 your keyboard, there's a gap usually between F4 and F5. So bind it to F5 so you can just reach over and pop it real quick later on. Mounting. I like F12. The reason why I like F12 is it's on the same side of the keyboard as insert, home, page up, page down, delete. So it's really close. And when I dismount, I usually press this button again, or I just jump off my mount. Interacting and looting, delete. Now remember, we just said we're using insert, home, page up, page down, and end for all our abilities and our attacks. We want to use delete for interaction. So let's show you how that works. Now, I'm going to run over to this guy earlier, and I talk to him, and I interact with him. I did it really quickly, right? So I'll show you again at another opportunity what it would be like to do that. Let's see, can we interact with these? No. Can we interact with him? No. So what you would do is you would go over to something that's interactable, that's got sparkles on it, and as you get close, this reticule you see here is going to highlight and say the word DEL next to it and let you know you can delete things. But not delete them from the world, but delete to interact with them. All right, so let's go back to our options and keybinds again. So we got that set all the way down to here. Now we have these keys that are kind of weird. You know, this lock, target, hold, I want you to clear that one. Free play mode, don't worry about that unless you're playing a bard. You can leave all these bard keys just exactly the way they are. I play a bard, it's one of my mains. Inventory, here's some good ones to bind. Okay, press window button 1, press window button 2, press window button 3. I like 8, 9, and 0. These are just regular numbers on your keypad, on your keyboard. Why? These are buttons that pop up. They're like, oh, your queue's ready. Are you ready to go into the queue? You say, okay, sure, 8. Or do you want to cancel? 2, 9. Or do you want to interact with this person? They want to trade with you, or 0. So it gives you a way to confirm interactions without having to hit the middle mouse button and go up there and click the button. You can still do that, but 8, 9, and 0 means you can be running around and have interactions that happen, and you can confirm them really, really quickly. Now, character sheet. I like C for character, to look at my character sheet. I like H for the home page. I like B for inventory, which is what I use because it's like bags or all bags, like a WoW. The game menu to escape, the zone map to M, and the mission journal to Q for quest. Now, if you like to use I for inventory and J for journals and all that kind of crap, go ahead. But I recommend you unbind keys you really don't want to use very often, like professions and lore or combination keys. I have friends left to O. You know, a lot of games are using O. It could be F. The reason why they don't have it to F is because it's over there on the WASD side. There's things like boons and feats and teaming queue and guild management and all that kind of stuff. Those are up here anyway. You don't really need to have keys bound them. You do that if you wish. I do want to talk about these right here. Toggle UI and F2. So let's close this down. Toggle UI, I've got it bound to F1. This means the whole UI goes away. This is great for taking a screenshot. So say you want to take a really cool screenshot of something with your character poses in a world, you can hit the print screen button, but you're going to need to paste it into a graphics program, whether that's Photoshop or Paint Shop Pro or even Paint. I have been unable to find in the modern world where the Neverwinter screenshots go anymore. Years ago, they had a screenshot contest. It used to automatically write it into your cryptic Neverwinter Live folder, but now that Arc Games is involved, that folder binding has changed. I don't see it in my games. I don't see it in pictures. Maybe it's there. If you know where the screenshots are being saved now, let people know. That's a toggle button, so you can toggle it on and toggle it off. Okay, let's turn it on, because I bound F2 to edit the UI. Now, if you ever played Star Wars The Old Republic, is it Star Wars The Old Republic? It's SWTOR. Yeah, Star Wars The Old Republic, not Knights of the Old Republic, the MMO. It has a fantastic system for editing UI. It's really wonderful. Neverwinter has a really, really basic one. And here's what I like to do. I like to grab the character, bring them down here, and this is just left clicking and holding. There's no special buttons to press. You can just turn F2 off and press the F2 again. It doesn't do anything. You can hit escape and it'll move it. So this is my character sheet, and any buffs I have will appear down here. This says the name of my class. This is like a little aggro meter. This is telling me whether I have VIP, if I wanted to buy VIP ranks, what I would have to do to buy that. We'll do that later on. And so you can go F2 and move some things around. So let's go F2. The companion, I like my companion to be here. The companion is an integral part of your game. I like the team status to be down here so I can keep an eye on my teammates, see who's really damaged. I like to grab this boss info and PvP scores so I can get to this one here, the lockbox notification, and put it up here. There is no hide button on the lockbox notification. Every time some motherfucker opens a goddamn lockbox in the game and gets a thing out of it, like an epic mount or a piece of dryer lint, everyone gets this lockbox notification in all the town areas that says, Billy got a box with a camel in it. I'm like, I don't want to hear that crap. I put it in the upper right corner. You can't resize these things. Now, if you know a way to resize them, let me know. But that's a good place to get it out of the way. The other ones you can leave here, like the mini-map, the mission tracker, secondary class mechanics, you can leave those there. You will find that the UI works pretty good, just this. So hit escape to get that back out. Now, let's go back to our key bindings again. Escape, options, key bindings. We go down a little further here, and we go all the way down here, past the bard stuff again. And every time you open this interface, it's going to start at the top. So down here, F1, F2, we just talked about that. The Zen Market, the scoreboard. when you're in a skirmish or a dungeon or a PvP map, at the end, this automatic scoreboard will pop up and the mouse cursor will be captured, and you have to go click, click, click to go to the right, and click, and you have to hit tab to close it, and then you'll open the chest, and then it'll open back up again. So this is really nice to have a keybind. This to shut it the fuck down if it gets in the way all the time. If you want to check like how much damage you do, how much did you absorb, how much healing did you do. I mean, the tab button's really good, kind of like post-game scoreboard, just for that kind of stuff. That's a good thing. And notice how I have some things unbound. You know, that's really up to you. I personally use the home interface to start doing things. Let's talk about chatting. Obviously, you hit enter to start chatting in the chat window down here, and we're going to change some chat settings too. I use R to reply as opposed to like backspace or something, because I don't want to hit a key accidentally. Mute contact voice. This is a really good one. Push to talk. I don't use voice chat in the game. I'm not playing with anybody. I don't like people. Okay, I play with my friends. I talk to them on a Discord. I don't need to talk to them in a game chat system. But it is there if you want to look into it. But mute voice contact. You will find that when you talk to NPCs in the game, they're going blah, 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 and talking. If you don't want to hear it, like you can run away and they're still talking, almost like little lore books in Diablo 3 and stuff. You can hit F9 real quick to mute that. That's a really good keybind setup. Now, let's talk about the chat system. Down here, all these chat channels will be enabled. There'll be a default one, a social one, and a combat one. By themselves, they're pretty good. They show you what's going on. For example, one of the very first things you do with this little quest is shoot some daily powers at these test dummies. And you can see what they look like and what this ability looks like. And we'll talk about that in a minute when we talk about the class. But down here, if I put this on combat, it shows everything I'm doing. And so you can hit the little cog in the lower left-hand corner and say, hey, you know what? I want to be able to see the combat for myself out. And I want it to be white. And I want to see it in combat self. I'm going to put that to white too. And combat self in. Let's put that to maybe a light pink color. And then notice how it's changed the colors. So you can modify the colors. You can go into the social thing and change the colors of all the different channels. You can see what the defaults are. So that's a really good way to modify that. Now what I want you to do though, that's pretty useful, press your middle mouse button, come back down here to the chat interface, hit this cog here, and then in the default channel, select this, not social, not combat, hit default, and go down here and say loot rolls, turn that off. If you're looking for a group, you can turn that off. Open party, queue group, raid. You can also turn off trade. A lot of times in these kind of games, you have a lot of people talking and spamming a lot. That will reduce the amount of spam that you have in the game. Now, we got a quest from him to use our little abilities on these things, and we completed that. Just to give you a quick sense, this is the two abilities here we're using. This first one, rapid shot. This next one is called split shot. And you can see it has different types of mechanics to it. The split shot has kind of like a press and hold, and the longer I hold it, the narrower the scope comes. So I can just do it really quickly and hit everything for less damage, right? Or I can wait a moment and tighten it up, and it'll hit harder. And then the left mouse button is just going to shoot one ability over and over and over. Now, if you really want to know what the abilities do, hit C for your character sheet, go to Powers, and then you can read what they do here. You can select it by left-clicking it in this interface and read even more details, like what the magnitude is, or the enhanced magnitude, or how long it is, or whether, and what the ability will be. If you have a melee ability, it's the same ability, which rangers get to do. We'll get to switch between using a bow and using dual-wield weapons. So rapid shot also means rapid strike. Or this one here, split shot, also means split strike. So as we play the game, we're getting a whole bunch of abilities here. As we level up, we're going to get more encounter powers, we'll get more daily powers, and we'll be able to assign these. But this is a good way for you to see what the abilities do. Now that we did that, it says use an encounter power, 0 of 2, and it's pointing down here. So you can see this first one, hindering shot, fire 2 arrows into your enemy shin, power has 3 charges, and what else does it do? Does it snare them, cooldown, blah, 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 right? So what we need to do, we press our insert key in this situation while we're aimed at something. Now if we press insert and we don't have a target, it just says you must have a target. So we can press this, boom, and it shoots that ability, and it has 3 charges. So watch down here, right? Charge 1's been used. The charge replenishes after the cooldown timer, in this case 11.6 seconds, which you can modify with different abilities. And there's the second one, and it's got a little bit of a cooldown. There's the second one, the other charge came up, and another one came back. Some abilities have this. This is a combination of, now I have no charges and I can't do the ability. Not enough charges. It's going to recharge every 11 seconds so I can do it again. So think about how often you use this, and think about what would be the use of using this. Fires 2 arrows into your enemy's shin. It hits pretty hard. It will call it a weak version of grasping roots, right? You can actually see here on this target here that it puts these little roots around it and kind of holds them in place, and he's rooted for a second. And rooted is an EverQuest 1 word, meaning you're kind of like locked in place. Now, we've already completed the quest. It says fight your way through the forest, but we have another ability here called Marauder's Escape. It's not really one you use to shoot. You just leap away, kind of like one of the abilities does for a witch elf or a witch hunter in Warhammer Online. If you remember Repel, Blasphemy, and those other moves, that one has a pretty long cooldown. But if you're getting in trouble and you're shooting, you got too many guys swarming around you, you can hit that ability and leap away. You can actually be shooting in midair while you're doing that. So you can use these at-will powers whenever you want. You can pop in a snare to hold something still and start popping it. Maybe give you a chance to line this up and shoot it. So there's going to be a lot of fun combat that we'll talk about in a separate video. But this one, we're just going to cover the things that we had before. So let's just pop this real quick up here. And we're going to go back to our Notion page, make sure we've covered everything. All right, Arc versus Steam. I mentioned that in the previous video. I highly recommend you play with Arc. I love Steam, but don't do it here. The more interfaces you use and front ends you use, the more crap you have running on your computer in the background. We talked about the camera shake, double tap, mouse, area effect targeting, key bindings, good. We need to talk about graphic, social, UI, and audio settings. So let's do that next. All right, so now go back to your escape menu options. We've got all the key bindings done all the way down to the bottom. You can hold your mouse button, left mouse button down and scroll all the way up and down here. We got that done. Audio, I'm playing with a headset. The different volume levels are set here. You will probably find that the music in the game may be slightly annoying. I'll leave that to you. You can change where the audio is coming out of with a drop-down menu here, like I'm using a USB headset right now. The ones you really, I think you'll find the most fun to have in the background is the FSX volume with all the attacks and the shooting and the yelling and all that kind of crap. The voice volume, if you turn that down a little bit, you don't characterize it yelling as loud. The interface volume is not bad. The ambient is great. All the background sounds, vultures, crows, distant fighting, rumbling, earthquake sounds, ocean waves. I love ambient sounds. It makes you feel like you're really there. Really like it a lot. So that's pretty straightforward. The mute after dialogue is fine. If you go down to the voice chat menu and turn that shit off, unless you're going to play with your son or daughter or something, you need to play with a voice chat system. You don't want to use Discord. Let's talk about display settings. Modern day, I'm using an NVIDIA 3090. I mean, this is a 5-year-old gaming rig. It still does great. I like to play with window maximize. I always will make sure that's on the desktop, the maximum resolution, and it's set to 60 hertz. You can play in full screen if you want, or you can play in windowed. Window maximize gives you a lot of freedom to look at videos on the internet. And I'm using an actual 60 hertz TV for a monitor here, so I got that set to 16:9. Keep vertical sync on. If you don't have vertical sync on, your game will render frames really fast at different speeds, and it won't wait for the monitor's refresh rate, so you may get screen tearing, and it can actually give you a headache if it happens a lot and you have a really high frame rate. I recommend you turn that on. That means the game will wait for the refresh rate of the monitor before drawing the next frame, and the human eye isn't really going to detect anything faster than that. If you got a better gaming rig and you got a 120 hertz monitor, awesome. You can change that to whatever you want it to be too. The resolution scale, leave that at 1. The field of view you can change. Some old school kind of Counter-Strike players use like really wide field of view, gets them very fisheye looking. 55 is fine. You can change it to 60, 70. Remember, as you change the field of view, it changes the position of the camera, how it feels, whether you're close or further away. I'll give you a quick example. Let's change this up like this, right? So this is like 94 field of view. See how distorted everything is? I think it looks terrible. Froggy, who was a Quake player at Quake Annihilation, Red Annihilation, played at like 120. It was just crazy. I couldn't believe someone played that way. I'll leave that about 54. You can actually go in here and type numbers, I believe. Let's go back behind here and backspace. No, can we? Can we? Yeah, there we go. 55. We'll hit enter. Great. TXAA, which is it's like a anti-aliasing sampling. Set it to high number. 4x is usually pretty darn good. You can set the brightness and the calibration settings like this, but what I like to do is actually do it in the game in here by hitting advanced and set to 0.5. This keeps things from being too washed out looking. If you have things set to 0.1, it just doesn't look good. The display area The display area calibration only happens if you really want the monitor to only be a certain section, or using a really weird TV that's got a funny aspect ratio, and you need to make sure the game is filling the screen. Most people aren't really going to have that problem when you're playing Windows Maximize. Now, graphics. I like everything maxed, right? Post-processing, bloom quality is on, ambient occlusion is on, cinematic focus is on, lens flares are high, max shader, anisotropic filtering, which filters the quality of the textures. Everything, soft particles are great, shadows on high, max lights. I set everything to max. This game came out in 2012, okay? I mean, modern game rig should run this thing really well. And if you're going to play video games, don't play this on a laptop. Get yourself a gaming rig, okay? You pay more money for a laptop than you do for a gaming rig. And advanced is over here. You don't really need to mess with this. So don't mess with things like reduce file streaming and bloom intensity. I like the bloom intensity at 100. The world texture detail, you could increase this. I recommend just leaving both of these at 100%. Frame rate stabilizer, you don't really need that unless you have a really bad time with the game running really bad. Make sure multi-core rendering is on. You may need to restart the game to get that to work, and limit the frame rate is off. I don't think you need to deal with that. Interface. This is an interesting area, and we're almost done. The interface scale, you may want to rechange this. When you first log in the game, you're on 4K, you're at 2160p. You're like, oh crap, I need to do this. This is a good place to adjust the scale. I've made mine at 1.5 because it's 4K. The size of the cursor, make it 2. That's really great. And then go to the HUD, and you can pick all the other types of details you want to see about players' health and bars and things like that. You'll find that it's very, very useful to modify these as you're playing. Like, okay, I don't want to see players' damage numbers anymore. I don't want to see bars over their heads anymore. I'm playing a healer now. I just need to see the friendly guys when they're damaged. I don't need to see their health bar when they're not damaged. This is where you're going to control all that nameplate type stuff, right? And you could, if you've played these games before, you're going to be able to set that however you want it to be. It's not that complicated. All right, so that is the basic introduction. Controlling your character, moving around. Did we get everything in the Notion page? Let's pull that up again. Let's go to here. We got the UI settings, audio settings. We've covered all this. In the next video, we've already talked about a little bit of this stuff here. We're going to jump down to combat and give you some real good tips and defensive strategy for how to play the game in combat. That will make a big difference for how it is when you're playing. You'll like that a lot more, I think. All right, we're going to leave it at that for now, and then we're going to come back with the next video as we go into this next area and follow these little sparkles, trails, to fight our way through the forest. All right, we'll talk to you in the next video. Take care.